This routine is all about the basics of crawling. If you made your way over from how crawling heals the body, then you understand how foundational and natural crawling is for our movement capabilities. And it offers us loads of opportunity to improve the way that our body feels and moves on a daily basis. So in this routine, we're gonna build up to our best crawling ability by getting ourselves comfortable with the ground. So let's begin. Come down to hands and knees and then place the hands a bit in front of the shoulders. Now rock the hips back towards the heels and then forward. You'll often see babies do this before they crawl. We're priming the body in this quadruped position to be able to transfer weight from the knees and the hips to the hands and the shoulders. If it feels good, you can start to rock your chest in a circular motion. So we're throwing some side to side in with our front to back. Keep this explorative. See what the hips feel like as you press them back to that deep range towards the heels, and see what the torso and shoulders feel like as you rock forward and place more weight into the hands. So after about 12 rocks, you can go ahead and relax, but let's stay down on the ground on our hands and knees. We'll move into finger push-ups, which is really good for the hands and the wrists. Simply keep the fingers down on the ground and drive the heel of the hand upward. The more weight that you put into the hands, the more stretch you'll feel through the back of the forearm. The stronger that our hands and wrists are, the better our core and shoulders will work. Now, you won't see babies do this because they haven't accumulated stiffness like we have as adults. If you haven't touched the ground in a while, this is a perfect prep movement for crawling. So let's go ahead and stand up. Even though we all started crawling as babies, we're probably much more familiar with walking. I want you to do a slow and controlled walk in place. See, the pattern of walking is the exact same as crawling. We use one leg to support ourselves while the other drives upward. We also see that we move in this contralateral fashion, meaning the knee that drives upward meets the opposite arm and shoulder. This pattern is so important to our functional movement. It's what connects the upper body to the lower body. So after feeling this pattern in our body, I want to move us directly into our crawling pattern. And we're going to leave our knees on the ground just like babies do. I find it easiest to start with the reach of the arm forward. Let that reach pull your opposite knee forward with it. Once you have that pattern down, see if you can let your whole body rotate and twist to facilitate the movement. We want to mimic that free motion of the spine that animals and babies move with alike. So you'll notice there's no sets and reps here. I'm taking about 10 steps forward and then turning around and coming back. Whatever you choose to do will be just what you need today. We're going to wrap up our knee crawl, and I want you to make your way onto your back. We're going to do our same crawling pattern from a lying down position. I want you to bring those knees right above the hips and then reach the arms up to the ceiling. This is called a dead bug. We drop one arm and the opposite leg towards the ground while maintaining the up position of the other leg and arm. What's nice about the dead bug is our shoulders and hips get to work through a full range of motion while the core is very activated. Because the back is pressed down against the ground, you'll get less spine movement than when we crawl, but you'll still feel some shifting from side to side. You'll probably start to feel some fatigue in your core muscles, and this is a really good functional core exercise, while also facilitating good hip and shoulder movement. All right, go ahead and relax. So we will take about a 20-second break here, but if you ever need to pause the video and take a longer break, then please do so. So now we're gonna move into adding more load into our crawl pattern. We'll get back into our hands and knees quadruped position. Lift the knees and hover right off the ground, taking more of the weight into the hands and the feet. Hold for around 2 seconds and then press the knees back down. This is slowly ramping us up to take more body weight into our shoulders and hips. After we've done about 10 of those, we're gonna switch to straightening our knees and lifting our hips to a downward dog style position. As you lift the hips upward, feel a nice stretch through the backside of the legs, while also feeling some strength from the shoulders to push your chest back towards the knees. After about 5 of those, go ahead and relax. And even though we haven't done any actual crawling yet in these first 5 minutes, hopefully you see that all of these movements are improving our relationship to the ground. And for the next half of this routine, it's time to do some crawling. First, we're gonna do some crawling in place. And before we get into it, I must warn you that this is almost harder than crawling forward. Let's hover the knees off the ground and slowly pick one hand up and the opposite foot. Feel yourself shift weight from side to side and really press into the ground with the hand and foot that are still in contact. If this feels too challenging at all, feel free to leave the knees on the ground and do the same pattern. You can start to play with the cadence, moving faster or slower, but in general, moving slower requires more strength and control from the body. And here I'm pausing for longer with just 2 points of contact on the ground, and this will really challenge your full body stability. All right, awesome work. Go ahead and relax. You can shake your muscles out, take some deep breaths. And right here, I actually looked at my friend recording the video and I said, wow, I forgot that crawling in place is actually way harder than crawling forward. So if you found that challenging, the rest of these movements will probably feel easier. So now let's crawl forward in what we like to call the cat crawl. You have this pattern all primed in your body. Now you just need to put it into play. Remember that you intuitively know this pattern. Try not to overthink it. As you reach one arm, the opposite knee drives forward with it. Simple as that. When we sit for long hours of the day, you can almost picture the hips being fused together. Notice that when I crawl, my hips move independently of each other and they take on this gentle gliding motion. This in itself can start to alleviate some lower back stiffness or some hip restrictions, and the same goes for the shoulders as well. Go ahead and relax. And next we're gonna move into a belly crawl. And for the belly crawl, the starting position is very important. Lay down on the belly and tuck one knee up. Tucking this knee up will naturally rotate our body towards that knee. Prop yourself on your elbows, and with that same side arm, reach it up and across your body to rotate us to the other side. Now we reach the other arm up and across, and we let this rotate our body from side to side. This is another one that you'll see babies spend a lot of time in. This position forces you to resist your head falling down by pulling it up into extension. Because your knees and elbows really need to press into the ground, this is a nice one to do on carpet or grass or some type of soft surface. Notice how much the chest and spine rotate here. This is a lot like how amphibians move, with longer torsos and shorter arms and legs. And it can be really nice for us restoring healthy joint movement. All right, go ahead and relax. Awesome work. I think now's a good time to check in with your body. You can stand up, walk around, notice any changes in the way that your body feels. The first step towards anything is awareness. And we'll make our way back to our next crawl, which is the bear walk pattern. Let's get into the downward dog position that we used earlier with the hips raised. What's nice is our pattern stays the exact same as the cat crawl. One arm reaches forward and it pulls the opposite foot forward with it. And this is a great way to actively stretch your body. You have to fire the hip flexors to pull your legs forward, which will give you a natural stretch through the back of the leg. And in the bear, we strengthen the shoulders in an overhead position, which is really important for overall shoulder health. Starting out, your hips may not be very high and you'll probably have to be on your toes. That's fine, but what we work towards is the hips getting higher and closing the angle between the thighs and the stomach. I always like to end with spending a few seconds in a forward fold because my hamstrings feel nice and open right now. Relax. Now, stretching is great, but sometimes our body doesn't respond to stretching in the way that we hope it does. Crawling forces us to control range of motion and to hold on to new range of motion, and I think this is why it generally makes our bodies feel really good. So we'll move to crab, and we'll have our chest and hips facing upward this time. Supporting on arms and feet, we'll do our same crawling pattern moving forward. This time I like to lead with reaching the foot and letting that opposite hand be pulled forward. We always like to use some crab to balance out our bodies. Now the arm is pushing behind you, which activates the shoulder differently. The hips facing up makes us use our legs differently and activate different musculature. But even though we're using our muscles a bit differently, the pattern still stays the same, and we're still in our animal nature. So we did 4 main crawling patterns today, and just to freshen up your memory, we started with the cat and then moved to the belly crawl. We then moved into the bear walk and finished with the crab. And I invite you to keep exploring them on your own time or putting this routine on again. But today we're going to finish up with linking all 4 of these crawls together in a way that flows nicely. We'll begin by cat crawling forward. And once you get around 5 steps in, you can start to raise your hips up for a slow transition into our bear walk. Let's take a few more steps forward, and when you feel ready, walk those feet towards your hands and then bend the knees into a squat-like position. Now reach one arm behind you and you'll find yourself in your crab. Let's crab crawl back across the space, and as you get to the other side, we're gonna do a crawl switch transition. Reach one arm into the air, and then we'll bring that opposite leg under the body. This turns our chest to face the ground, and from here, we'll put our stomach on the floor, and we'll do our belly crawl forward. This is just one way to link these crawls, and you guys can find other interesting ways to do it. Crawling has been a big staple in my movement practice over the last 10 years, and I hope that you guys are experiencing some of the benefits that I have. And remember, this is just one session. Imagine how much you could keep unlocking with more. If you haven't seen our video on how crawling heals the body, then check it out, link in description. If you want more exclusive routines like this, then check out the Strength Side membership below. Drop a comment letting us know your thoughts on crawling, and enjoy your day.